We are live here, the Sprint Ride Option Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Hustle Network. I'm Andrew Pasquini, Jason Aponte with me, and Jason, let's just talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
The 49ers playoff hopes are dead.
Yes.
That's how we're starting this episode.
Man, you got right to it, right?
Just right to it. Because man, so I just want to clarify some things because my friends come at me, people come at me on Twitter. Me referencing the Niners having a 9% playoff chance and listing all the things that needed to happen for the 49ers to make the playoffs wasn't me sitting there saying I'm convincing you to make the playoffs. It was just me being a person who has to fill an hour podcast with conversation and having something to talk about. No, I did not think that the 49ers were going to beat the Cowboys and the Cardinals were going to lose to the Eagles and all this stuff. I didn't think any of that was going to happen. It was just a conversation point, friends. I did not think the 49ers were making the playoffs, probably after the Buffalo games. That's when I probably put it away. And
it was a matter of fact. Whether you believe it or not, it was still a matter of fact that the 49ers still had a 9% playoff chance. That pretty much puts it at 0 if it's at 9, but it's still 9 and you still have to talk about it. So it wasn't trying to convince you that something was happening. It was just a matter of fact.
It was just us talking about something that was out there that was something to talk about on a podcast that you and I did.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So I want to open up. Yes, the 2020 version of the San Francisco 49ers are not going to the playoffs. Breaking news, all the noises and all the sounds. And it's a bummer. I am legitimately bummed about it. Yes, I know this was coming. Yes, I knew it was going to happen. But for it to be official, because part of me was still, yes, I was holding out hope that all of those things were going to happen. Did I think all of those things were going to happen? No, I didn't. I knew those things weren't going to happen. But it's definitely fun to have week 15. I'm sitting here watching an Eagles-Cardinals game with a vested interest. And that's all I want. That's all I want is to be able to watch other games going on and hope that the right thing happens. Because if we were able to say, Jason, the 49ers have a 3% chance to make the playoffs this week, that means I could watch football games this weekend with interest. And that's all I look for. But we're not getting that.
Yeah. I mean, I have the interest because of fantasy football, but I understand what you mean because of fans, right? That's what. So no, it's true. I mean, I think that after we found out what we found out. It was all but certain before it became certain, right? But once it becomes certain, then there's still things for me to watch. Honestly, I think that I'm a little bit more excited about the evaluation process. Emergency pod yesterday was about Josh Rosen joining the team. I'd love to see him get a start. Let's evaluate these next 2 weeks and let's figure out what we have before we make moves. So, while that doesn't sound glamorous, it's still in the vested interest of, what's going on. So I'm excited to watch guys that, maybe normally didn't get some run that will, just because we have to figure out what we have right now before we go into this crucial offseason.
Yeah, and we really can't understate how important this offseason is. 40 free agents. All that fun stuff.
Right.
Maybe a backup quarterback's already on the roster. Maybe not. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. I'm sure it'll come up at some point today. But yeah, so at this point, it's just all about seeing what this team has to offer. Seeing things like how Jeff Wilson's going to do as the feature back on this team. How Brandon Ayuk's going to look the rest of the season. Jason Verrett. Ahkello Witherspoon, how's he going to do the last 2 games? Because he's also fighting for a spot on this roster right now. Is it likely he comes back? Maybe not, but something we'll talk about in a bit. He had a pretty good game against Dallas. He
had a really good game.
He had a really good game against Dallas. I'm watching the condensed game as we speak.
Yeah.
But just there's little things that we're going to be able to watch, see what Kinlaw can do. And I think I saw Kinlaw didn't practice today. So I don't know. Keener saying backup quarterback on the roster already. You mean Jet, right? Yes, we mean Jerick McKinnon. Yeah. So there's little things to still watch. And I'm interested in the game on Saturday because just because, man, I'm still I'm still very much hoping the 49ers win these next 2 games. I know.
Okay, that's different now. Now that's different.
I know. Listen, I know draft position and blah, blah, blah this and blah, blah, blah that. But, man, now the 49ers get the chance to be a spoiler. Like, Arizona's not locked into a playoff spot. The 49ers can win this game and cost them a playoff spot, right? The Seahawks aren't locked in their spot yet, I don't think. I think the Rams – I don't know if the Seahawks have clinched a division title yet. I think the Rams still have an outside shot, which, my goodness, the Rams losing to the Jets. Who would have thought?
2020 continues.
So like, there's still a lot to cheer for this season. And yes, if you want to be a nerd and a loser, yes, I'm calling you a loser. Jeez. Not you, but like the collective you. And cheer for the 49ers to lose for a draft pick that they could trade up for. Regardless, they can trade up for these picks. I guess that's what you want to do. You want to have your prerogative and cheer for them losing, whatever. You do you. But I'm cheering for them to beat the Cardinals and Seahawks because it's really fun to beat the Cardinals and Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, man? Listen, I think, jokingly, I forget which group chat we're in because we're in like 80 of them. I forget, jokingly which one you brought up about draft karma, right? Just play the season as it goes, and then whatever happens, and however it lands is however it lands, right? Because, the 49ers thought that they played themselves out of the first pick, but they end up with Bosa because circumstances change. So just, again, we have tons of time to worry about that. Seriously, we really do. So again, need to figure out what we have on this roster, and if we can stop Arizona or Seattle from doing something that they really want to do, and we can, maybe Josh Rosen goes into Seattle, or goes into Arizona and knocks off Seattle, and that would be sweet. There's so much to think about when it comes to those scenarios. I try to stay away from it. So, if you're looking to keep things fun, think of it that way. I would say, we just need to evaluate this roster. I just want to see guys that we haven't had a chance to see, or guys that we get back in injury, so we can figure out what we have and maybe boost some trade stock. I think that's what Spoon can do right here. Is if Spoon shows these next 2 weeks that he's worth something and we're able to get anything for him, I think that would be great. But conversely, if Spoon shows that he can play, why not bring him back and try to, it's a lot, right? That's the exciting part about the evaluation process, and that's kind of what I want to see.
Yeah, and like and talking about the draft pick right now. Listen, according to Tankathon, the Niners have the 12th pick right now. They're only a game behind Carolina for the first pick. I mean, technically 2 games because Carolina would have the tiebreaker, so the Niners would have to lose out, and Carolina would have to whatever. There's a lot that can happen. So, like, if you're talking for like Zach Wilson's obviously the name everybody's talking about. There is still 4 months in between now and the draft to where Zach Wilson can have a bad combine.
Yeah.
He can have a bad pro day. That there's a lot of little things that can drop player stocks. There's a lot of little things that can raise player stocks. So just because right now the mock drafts have Zach Wilson going 5 to the Falcons, oh my God, how's he going to get to 12? There's still 4 months of things that can change these things. Because, like, if I remember correct, and I was pretty young, because what year is this? 2006? The Calvin Johnson mock draft, or the Calvin Johnson year, I feel like he was a relative okay first-round pick, and then the combine stuff happened, and he went from, like, mid-first-round pick guy to, like, oh, my God, this guy's a transcendent talent. He's going to change a franchise, which I guess in theory he did. It's just he was on the Lions, so it didn't really do anything.
Put it like this. Look, for a more recent example, I think what you said about the combine is really important too. And I think the mock draft thing, I was on a stream with Akash yesterday and Vish and them, and they said something, that really stood out. Like right now, the mocks that you're doing in December, they're not going to reflect anything of what's going to be there in April or anything like that. And with DK Metcalf, bro, last year, so DK Metcalf slipped in the draft because people were scared because he didn't have a good 3-cone at the combine. Cool. Nice job, guys. Everybody who passed on him. You know, and it's also combined with the fact that he's with a good quarterback and they've asked him to run routes that are more conducive to him. They're not asking him to run a lot of in-breaking routes and things like that, because if he struggled at the 3-cone, why would you force somebody to do something that they're not good at? They're using him the right way and they have the right quarterback. So, yeah, the combine is a good evaluator again, but like you're right about that, about how like a 3-cone just dropped DK Metcalf out of what should have been a first-round pick. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Did he go second or third round? He went second.
He went second round, yeah.
Late second round though, right?
Yeah.
So like that's just my thing, is like everybody's talking about draft positioning, like Zach Wilson's a shoe-in for a top 5 pick, which he might be, right? Like it fully possible Zach Wilson's a top 5 pick. He's not going to get to the 12th pick, but at the same time, like just playing devil's advocate, like cheer for your favorite football team, because you don't know. Listen, if I would have told you in January 2020, yes, I know there was kind of inklings of it going on. If I told you January 2020 that we were going to spend the entirety of 2020 in quarantine, you would have thought I was kind of crazy. But things change really fast. It's how it's gonna be. That's how it is. So yes, I understand, like, tank for the pick. It gets you better chances. But at the same time, like, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 4. And I don't know what even started this, how we got here, but this
I like it though. See, and
the conversation we opened the show with.
Right. And you were worried, you know, I don't know if we're going to make it to an hour. 11 minutes on this alone. We haven't even gotten into the Dallas game. Way to go, Andrew.
Yes, I guess I'm very passionate. Man, like, I mentally have a hard time sitting here and saying the 49ers have 2 rivalry games back to back. It's hard for him to say, yeah, I hope they go 0-2. And yes, Kevin makes a good point. Like, there's little things to cheer for. Ayuk still has a chance to break Jerry Rice's 49ers rookie receiving yardage record. Like, there are so many little things to cheer for. Like, I'm personally cheering for Josh Rosen to start week 17 because, of course, I wanted just to see something different. Like, nothing against CJ Beathard, but we know what CJ Beathard is.
Everything against CJ Beathard. My bad. Didn't mean to say that. Yeah. No, I mean, we just know. Look, all right, look.
We know what CJ Beathard is. Right. It's just more of the, like, it's not even Pandora's box at this point because we know what we're getting with CJ Beathard.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no playoff spot at risk. So it doesn't hurt to just open Pandora's box to be like, let's see what's in here. Like, if it hurts us, it's not going to hurt that bad. So, right. Like, no more injuries. That's another thing to cheer for. Like, there are things to cheer for at this point that, like, yes, I get the tanking aspect. I understand the, like, and I don't want to call it tanking because the Niners aren't tanking. They're just not.
They're not winning.
There's a difference between tanking and just not a great football team. And the 49ers are not a great football team.
Not right now, no.
Because of the injuries and no other reason.
I don't know. Today I was seeing it. It was thrown around. Like, I'm getting caught up in this groupthink thing. All right, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So long story short, man, just enjoy these last 2 games because if 2020 has proved anything, you can't expect anything after this season right now.
Right.
Go cheer for the Niners. You never know what's going to happen because who knows? Maybe the Niners finish 7-9 and finish with the 16th pick, and Zach Wilson drops to 16. Ooh, you don't know what's going to happen.
Here's the thing too, right? Like, and I want to, I agree 100% with what you said, right? 2 things. One, as long as we waited for football and we didn't realize that it was going to happen, you better enjoy these next 2 weeks, because it's the last time you're going to see this team, right? That should be one reason for you to just enjoy these games. But 2, like, you have to think about this, right? You just said 40 free agents. How many of those guys are still healthy? It's not many of them. How many of those guys are still healthy and playing, and they still have to put good film out and play well and play hard because they are looking to get paid? When you go into the negotiating room, you don't go into the negotiating room and slide them your PFF grade. They look at your film. Film is all it is. So guys are not going to lay down because of that. They have to get paid. They're trying to boost their stock, and that's what I'm talking about. If guys are boosting their stock, then we're able to move them, get something for them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these last 2 games, I feel like I'm just as excited for because I'm going to get my chance to see and evaluate things and just see what we have and try to figure out, and try to map out some sort of way to rebuild this roster next year because there's going to be a mass exodus of players, it looks like, and for nothing more than just a numbers game. not that guys aren't good, not that guys aren't worth it, just a numbers game, right? We don't know what the cap is, and there's rumors and rumblings that the cap is going to stay identical to this year, which would be amazing, right? And that's what you're saying about changes things, right? That changes things. We don't know yet. Like, you can't go into the draft until free agency's done. That's one thing. Free agency starts before that because you start to fill holes there. If you fill them in free agency, they're not needs in the draft, which is why you don't know where guys are picking. So I think that's really what it would be to put a cap on everything as far as like not knowing what guys are going to be doing, what teams are going to be doing, and what needs they're going to have after free agency. That's it.
Yeah, and you make a great point too with guys trying to put things on tape. These because like guys like Trent Williams, guys like Richard Sherman, they're going to get paid wherever they go. Juszczyk's going to get paid wherever he goes. There's guys on this team like Kerry Hyder, like I get Ronald Blair's hurt, but like
Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett's got 2 more games. Yeah,
Hello Witherspoon, like guys that are trying to prove that, hey, if the Niners aren't bringing me back, I'm trying to show future teams why I need to be on their team. So there's things like that. And then my final point on hoping the 49ers lose these last 2 games, you might not even have to cheer for them to lose because they're playing 2 teams that are better than them. You can cheer for them all you want. They're probably still not going to beat the Cardinals and Seahawks, whether or not you cheer for them or not. So just go cheer for your favorite football team. Plain and simple, because they're probably not winning these last 2 games because the Seahawks and Cardinals are better. That's all.
That's been my point. Like I see people in my comments and everything, and they're like, "Well, I hope this team tries to lose." I'm gonna be like, "Well, they don't have to try too hard.
They don't have to try very hard."
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like they make it seem like this team is elite and they're just gonna lay down. This team kind of is what it is, so they could try their damnedest to win and still lose. And there's a good bet that happens. So
yeah,
sorry.
So there's the 16-minute tangent that I didn't expect to go on at the start of this episode.
And you didn't think we were going to do more than an hour 15. This
there
seems like a lot
it
now.
Is. So do we want to talk about the football game that was the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers?
Sure.
If you step back and take off your 49er hat and your 49er shirt and whatever it is, it was a fun football game. It wasn't
boring.
It wasn't a good football game in the sense of good football because there was a lot of bad football in it, but it was a close competitive game, and that's all you can ask for, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean that's hi Jordan. Yes, I'm wearing a cardigan. The thing is this is I get upset when I watch this offense on film because I'm like, man, you know what? You could lose games, but man, being boring on offense, that's bad. Like I don't want to watch boring football, right? This game wasn't boring. It wasn't a masterclass of execution, but it wasn't boring, for a Dallas 49ers game to end up where it was, for a little while until, the freak, kickoff return from CeeDee Lamb, which won me a championship also, by the way, sorry to keep going back to fantasy. But yeah, and then was it the Kendrick Bourne bomb at the end? Did you see that throw into the end zone? Where's that been?
Hey man, listen, Kendrick Bourne may or may not be on my 3 stars just for making that play.
Woo, that was a man.
Because like here's the thing, if he doesn't make that catch, guess what? The Niners still lose the game, and he's out there like trying to catch it, like the game is on the line on this play. So Kendrick Bourne might be in my 3 stars.
He had a good game.
He did. So where do we want to start? Because there's about 4 different places to start here. We can start how the 49ers spotted the Cowboys, 14 points. We can start with Nick Mullins turning the ball over 3 times. We can talk about how the Niners defense, despite it's so weird to see a final score be, what was it, 41-33, and still be able to sit there and say the Niners defense played pretty good. The Niners gave up 41 points, but the defense looked pretty good still. Where do you want to start, Jason?
All right, look, again, the way that we have to evaluate this game is a little bit different now because of what we know about Nick Mullins, right? Like we could have made a whole bunch of jokes about how Nick Mullins didn't play. I'm not here to do that. I like I said on the emergency pod, I feel awful for the kid. I don't know what his future holds. It doesn't look good. I don't think he's gonna quit, but now's not the time to pile on. The kid feels terrible. But Kyle Shanahan, man, before the game, he said, I'm gonna have a short leash when it comes to the turnovers for Nick Mullins. I don't know, man. That didn't seem like it was the case this week, and love coach, what Shannon stand, but at what point, are the turnovers too much? At what point look, We know what CJ Beathard is. I'm not calling for CJ Beathard to play because I think he's going to be better than Nick Mullins. But at some point, when you send a message to your team saying that turnovers won't stand and they continue to happen and you stick with the guy, that's when the message falls short a little bit. And like, I understand you love Nick and you want him out there and things like that because of, the way that he processes things for you and things like that. But at what point do you stick to what you said? Like, once he turns the ball over 1-2 times, like, come on, like, let's make a move here, So I think we should just start with, again, it's not the coach's fault. It is what it is when it comes to the turnovers and things like that. Justin School had a rough game this week, playing in his first game at right guard. Like, how are you, like, again, evaluate things properly. Like, don't sit there and say, oh, School's a bum. He's never played guard. Imagine you imagine, whatever job that you have right now. Imagine your boss came to you and said, today I need you to do this and I need you to do it at the highest level. And I'm not teaching, I'll give you a week to teach you it and you just need to know how to do it. No, come on, man. Like, and that's any job. So, just again, like while I'm upset with the outcome because I picked the 49ers to win, it's not terribly shocking. There was definitely a lot of good things. Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead had a huge game.
I missed the belly rubs. I like, he hasn't had enough sacks this season that when he got the sack and did like his little belly rub, like, it just makes me giggle every time because I don't know, just watching a grown man rub his belly like that is just funny. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that's his thing. Like Defoe had, like, last year was fun because Defoe had his little like
he has the
curling.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and then Defoe and then Armstead has his belly rub. Like, Niners were really good at post sack celebrations last year. But yeah, Armstead had a good game. But like, as I said, like the Cowboys scored 41 points, and it wasn't really on the defense. Like, the defense had a pretty solid game for what it was. Like, they didn't force any turnovers, which that is fine, and that ends up being the big difference. I mean, Archer Noy in the comments literally set the like Nick Mullins turnover at 2, and I think we both picked push. I think we said 2 is the number. Ended up being 3. So like, the turnovers are obviously an issue, and as I said yesterday in the emergency pod, is in that 30 seconds between Mullins being done for the season and Josh Johnson going on COVID, I floated the idea of, hey, maybe Josh Johnson starts on Saturday because of how slow Shanahan has been going to Beathard. And so we're going to see CJ Beathard on Saturday, barring Josh Rosen learning a playbook in 2 days. So we're going to see what it is. Little things from this game, just looking at the box score. Ayuk, just another good game. 9 catches, 73 yards, a touchdown. Kendrick Bourne, 4 receptions, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. Before the long play, it was 1 reception for like 40-something yards, 37 yards and no touchdowns. But like that one play boosts the number. You know what I remember?
Mm-hmm.
They ran a use check wheel route for 25 yards.
They hit the leak. They finally hit F leak. That's the second time this season. I was like, oh my goodness, look at this. Look at this. Kyle has drawn that play up 5-6 times this year and wasn't able to hit it. Like, I literally said it. I was like, oh my God, I saw the goal. I was like, oh my God, a leak is going to actually be completed. It was unbelievable, man. Hallelujah.
I was watching the game with my girlfriend, and they did that. I'm like, oh my God, it worked. It worked. And she's like, what worked? I'm like, use check on the wheel, because that was Kyle's go-to play in 2019. Like, when the 49ers needed chunk yardage, that was the play. Like I specifically remember Seattle week 17. Seattle opened the second half scoring, making it closer. The first play Shanahan draws up is that wheel route leak to use check, and they got like 40-something yards. Like, that was the go-to play last year. And
he ran it twice in week one. Didn't hit. He hit one. He missed the other. Like, Jimmy just wasn't able to get that out. And then the Rams game. Remember the one that we talked about? Jimmy double clutching. Yeah, that was the same play. Juice was wide open. So he's called it, and and for it, to his credit, whenever he calls it, it's wide open. But the quarterbacks haven't hit it. That's why even I said it. I was like, oh, F leak, look at that. Like, it worked.
It worked, and it made my heart so warm. Like, I was just so happy.
But remember when things were good, and that was a layup.
And you got to remember, man. You remember the picture I sent, man, when Dallas went up 14-0. I sent the picture of my shot of Jameson. Like, man, it is 10:25 in the morning, West Coast time, and I have a shot of Jameson ready to go just in case. And and I guess that's another thing to give the Niners credit on, because like I jokingly tweeted 14-0 is the most dangerous lead in football with no stats to back it up. But the 49ers came back like it was not like 14-0 halfway through the first quarter isn't that big of a lead or anything. But the Niners came back and they got it to 17-14 at half. And they put themselves in a position to win the game, because they could have easily gotten behind 14-0 with 6:39 in the first quarter and said, what's the point? Yeah, what's the point?
See, and that's another positive that I'll take. You know what? No matter what, right? This team right now, they're playing for coach. They're playing for their coaches right now. Like, and that's one thing that, you know, through all the losing and everything, we want to build a winning culture, but we also want to make sure that guys, for all this talk about Kyle lost the locker room, I don't think that that's true at all. You know, I've seen it floated out there today. I don't think that's true at all. You watch guys and they're playing as hard as they can. It's just, you know, at what point does the roster limitations hold you back? Yes, simple things are being missed, but again, guys are backups for that reason. They're just not better than other guys. So, I mean, again, as long as you keep things in perspective, you won't freak out. You just know that you have to charge this whole season up to just injuries, COVID, everything. Like anything that could have went wrong this year. So it's like, man, everybody sort of just gets a pass. Like, remember when we were talking about grades? You know what this team gets from me? An incomplete. I have no idea how to evaluate this team right now, being that none of the players that were supposed to be there basically have been there this year, you know?
Yeah, I have something I want to say, but it's something for later.
Wait. If it's Wait till
it's something later in the episode talking about Kyle in the locker room.
Yes.
So to me, seeing how quick they came back down 14-0 and just how like it almost felt too easy. Like at times, but you got to remember, like this is the Dallas defense. The Niners they ran the ball 35 times. Like that's what you want to see from this 49ers team. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they were able to run the ball 35 times. And the 33-point total was the Niners' highest point total since Week 7 against New England, which, oh, by the way, was another game the Niners ran the ball down the other team's throat. So the run game is very important, and being able to stay close in games is very important to use the run, because when you're falling behind, like the Niners have pretty consistently, you have to get away from that run game. Right?
And the other thing is, too, is on defense, it's super hard to not give up points when the ball's turned over on your side of the field, and now you just have to come out and play defense, and they're already in scoring position. Like, you know, no defense is just going to get 3 and outs when it comes to, you know, the pressure that it takes to play on that side of the field. So, you know, turnovers put the defense in a bad spot. Again, you could look at the box score and say, man, the 49ers defense was trash. Look, 41 points. You have no idea how this game went. You know, turnover after turnover, we're just putting them on the other side of the field and putting our defense in bad spots. When our defense would start at a good position on the other side of the field, they actually played really, really well, man. Eric Armstead moving inside, that was great to see. And you know, for all the people, you know, on Twitter that were like, oh, look, he's lined outside of the tackle. You have to remember it's 4 linemen. Where they're aligned doesn't mean that he's not inside. He was attacking inside because he was just that's wide 9. It was super wide. He's attacking and running a stunt back inside. That's what I mean. You don't have to be lined up inside to be moved inside, guys. Okay. Eric Armstead had a great game. Akilla Weatherspoon had a great game. And what I mean by that is he looked like a guy who was correcting the things that were wrong before, right? Like we had always said, in proper position, just loses the ball at the last minute. You know, he played through his hands. I watched the video and from, you know, this isn't even a joke. This is not a joke, but I watched the Matt Patricia clinic video on defense, right? And he was talking about defensive back play, right? So for all the jokes that you want to throw about Matt Patricia being a coach, man, after I got to listen to him talking defense, man, I was like, man, this guy's a mad scientist, right?
Some guys aren't designed to be head coaches. That's plain and simple. Vic Fangio falls in that category, right? Vic Fangio, one of the best defensive minds in this century. He's just not a head coach. Same thing with Patricia.
So Patricia was talking about as a DB, if you're ever beat, right? And there's a thing that he basically said in phase and out of phase. So when you're in phase, you're within a yard and you're right there next to your man running down the field, right? When you're out of phase, you're just dead sprinting because he's past you. When you're out of phase, you can't look up for the ball, right? You can only look for the ball when you're in phase. So if you're out of phase and you're getting there and you see the man's hands up, Ahkello Witherspoon has to just go and punch that out. Like, not even look for the ball. The second that you look for the ball, you slow down and that's it. You've lost it now. So he did a great job of, like, not looking for the ball, but understanding that when guys put their eyes up and they put their hands up, that you need to play through the hands and put your arms through there. So he did a great job of that. And it's funny because I watched that video before the game and then I was like, wow, there it is, like right there, what he was talking about, like as far as technique. So, if he's able to clean up, that's what we've been talking about with Spoon. It's always been little things, right? And to see him correcting it, like he actually played well for what they asked him the Washington game, but he didn't play many snaps. To see this happen this week was a big lift for him, I think, man. And if he can continue to play well the next 2 games, man, like I said, I hate to be a broken record, but that just boosts his stock, man.
Ahkello Witherspoon played 57 of the 58 defensive snaps.
Yep.
He was one of 3 49ers secondary players to be targeted 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Sherman was targeted 6 times. He allowed 6 completions for 44 yards.
Yep.
Tarvarius Moore was targeted 6 times, 4 completions for 83 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Ahkello Witherspoon targeted 6 times, 1 completion for 12 yards per Pro Football Reference.
There you go.
So Ahkello Witherspoon played a great game. And you were talking earlier, like the 49ers defense struggles because the Niners offense keeps turning the ball over. Cowboys had 5, I'm going to call it 5 scoring drives. They had 6 scores, but 1 doesn't count as a drive because that was the onside kick shenanigan. Right. Or actually, no, that didn't count as a drive. Actually, it did.
No, it doesn't. It's just a scoring play. The one that I won't count is the busted play to was it Gallup or Cooper? That just Marcel Harris blew the coverage.
I forget which one that is, but no, this was the run play for what's the running back name? The one who had a really good game.
Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard, yeah, the end of the game. So the Cowboys had 6 scoring drives because this doesn't list the onside kick. They scored a touchdown on a drive that started at the San Francisco 22-yard line. They scored a touchdown that started at the 49ers 24-yard line. So those are 2 scoring drives where they had to go a combined 46 yards.
That's the thing.
They had a field goal where they started their own 33, so the defense held. They gave up 37 yards, but they held them to a field goal. They did allow a touchdown drive that was 73 yards, which it happens. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't expect a defense. They had a field goal drive in which they gained 0 yards. So the defense, the Cowboys offense started in field goal range. And then the last touchdown they scored, the Pollard touchdown run, started at the 49ers 46. So you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 of the scoring drives the Cowboys had started in plus territory. And that's been the trend. Same thing in the New Orleans games, right? New Orleans had great field position the whole game. That's the issue, is like, I'm like, if anything, like, take away the turnovers from the past 4 weeks. I'm genuinely curious to see where the 49ers are right now. Like, if their offense ran fine without the turnover issues, like, they're probably still in a playoff hunt. They probably win this game. They maybe beat the Saints. I don't think they beat the Bills.
They beat the Saints. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys. They beat Washington. So that's 4, right? On top of all the other games before that. That's 9 wins.
That's already, yeah. But I'm just talking in the sense of the last month of games. So if you start at the New Orleans games, if you take away the turnover issues, they beat the Saints, they beat the Washington football team, and they probably beat the Cowboys. That takes their 5-9 record, and they're 8-5. Like, that's that's not even saying give me all the injured players back. That's just saying, like, don't turn the ball over.
A 10% increase in quarterback play leads you to 3 more wins, and I'm going to argue that 4th one is the Philly game.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Philly, obviously, and I'm just talking like, because like you can go back and say, yes, the Philly game 2 is one of them. You could even say with good quarterback play, they beat the Cardinals in week 1.
Yes.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of games, like, yes, the injuries are an issue. And that's why these turnovers are an issue, because I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo, as much as we like to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, oh my goodness, the Niners turnover count since the New Orleans game per game: 4 against New Orleans, 3 against the Rams, 2 against the Bills, 3 against the Washington football team, and 4 against the Cowboys. Like, if you just like subtract 2 from all those numbers, which I don't even think is that big of an ask, because then you're talking about 2, 1, 0, 1, and 2, which isn't great. That's still a good chunk of turnovers. The 49ers are probably 9-6 right now, or whatever that number comes out to, 8-5, whatever.
Yep.
So
I'm glad I got you sad again. See, but that's again, you know what though? I mean, it depends on how you look at it, right? Because I look at that as this is a well-coached team that's still, with all the injuries, is still right there with any of these teams, right? And still whatever. So again, you can choose it to say, oh well, look what happened this year, or you can choose it to say, you know what, the culture's there, it is there. The team is just making mistakes on offense. Guys are, and it's not just one person. Like I said, I'm not piling on one person, but just turning the ball over. That's it, man. It just don't do that. Do less of that, and things are a little bit better.
You can't convince me, especially, and I know, listen, I'm not trying to say Dallas has a great defense or anything. You can't tell me that this is on Shanahan's system after the Niners put up 33 points. 33 points isn't easy in a football game, right? Like 33 points, no matter how you cut it, is a lot of points. I mean, I'm trying to go back to last season to see how many times they scored 33 or more points. And I'm pulling it up now. 1, 2, oh my goodness, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So 6, and then if you want to go to the playoffs, 7 out of their 19 games, they scored 33 or more points. And that was a pretty good offense, right?
Right.
33 points is a lot. And 7 out of 19 is a lot, but that's a pretty good offense because the system works when they're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
The system works when they're healthy, and you can see little remnants of how good the system is despite how injured they are. So, like, this isn't a Shanahan issue. This is an issue of the injuries, and that, like, plain and simple, full stop, conversation ends.
Cool. I mean, you know what I gotta say? I'm out here asking for locations. Don't play with me about coach.
Oh yeah,
coach,
no, I'm when I say this stuff, I'm preaching to the choir when I'm talking to you. Obviously.
Oh yeah, coach isn't perfect, but that's my coach. You better not come for him.
Yeah, like he's not perfect. He has a stubbornness issue with his guys, which is, I don't even necessarily consider that an issue. Just because, like, of course, head coaches have their guys. Like, it's how it works. Head coaches have their guys that they rely to. So, like, no coach is perfect. So, like, I'm not tripping over that. Like, I'm not worried about it. So, I don't know how we got to this. I don't know how we got to this point.
We got to this point by trying to figure out why there's so many turnovers, and then you have to give context to everything. So yeah, I mean, this was fine. Do you want to move to 3 stars so we can get off the Shanny rant?
Yeah, because like I kind of want to dive into Mullins a little bit, but like 2 parts. A, like, we're still talking about a backup quarterback.
That's it.
And B, like, the man's season just ended and probably longer than that.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to pile onto it.
No, I'm not either. And
he didn't have a good game, and that's that.
Right. Just be kind, man. Like, I don't understand, like it is what it is, man. Nick is who he is, man. And on just a human level, man, to hear all that, nobody wants to hear that. Nick wants to play football, no matter what you guys think. And unfortunately, that's not going to be a possibility for a long time. And you know how hard it is for somebody to think about. So, I will not say anything bad about the man during this time. Like, that's just not the thing to do at this point.
Yeah, and like, as I've said it before, I've said it in the past, when we talk about these players, we are strictly talking about performance on the field. When we say Nick Mullins had a bad game, we aren't attacking him. It's nothing to do with that. We don't have any agendas we're trying to push on certain players. We just watch the games and we tell you what we think. So, like, nothing to do with Nick Mullins when we say he struggles. We hope Nick Mullins heals, and we hope that he finds another team, because I do think that if he can come back and be healthy, he's at that point, despite how bad he's been as a starter. He's at a point where he's going to be like a Chase Daniel, where he's just going to be a backup perpetually, and he's going to make a very good living off of that.
That's
so fine. That's very good for him, because he's going to make way more money in his life than I'm going to make. So,
but you know what else too, though? I understand everybody wants glory, but he could be a career backup, whenever that is, right? And he can end up being a coach. Like the idea that he's smart, that doesn't mean that he can't, build a career out of this. So yeah, man, look, man, Nick Mullins, get well soon, buddy. We're rooting for you. I hope you land on your feet somewhere else, man.
Maybe he'll go to Green Bay and he'll be so good they unretire the number 4 for him.
Oh man, and then he throws for the 400 over there. Make it happen. Speak it into existence.
I'm really sad that didn't happen because I feel like that was one of the first conversations we had on this show, because I think like one of our first episodes was right after Garoppolo got hurt the first time. I threw that stat out there. And you're like, that can't be true. I'm like, yeah, right. It's true. Nick Mullins is 1 game behind Brett Favre in 400-yard games. And it was kind of that thing that I was hoping that if it happened, I was opening a show with it, and we were probably going to spend 40 minutes talking about just that. So unfortunately, we didn't get it. So I hope Nick Mullins gets a chance to tie Brett Favre's career 400-yard mark. Right. 3 stars. Let's do
3 stars.
3 stars. Okay, so I'm at a point with Brandon Ayuk where I just don't count him because he's the assumed
No. And here's why.
He's the assumed 1 star every week at this point.
Care. Listen to me. Give the people what they want. I want to gush over him a little bit more. I want to talk about it. I don't care. We need to talk about some good things.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to exclude Ayuk from my 3 stars. You're probably going to have him in yours, and then we can talk about him then.
Okay.
Is that fair? So, yes, I'm going to put Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne, 4 receptions on 4 targets, 86 yards and a touchdown. And listen, the only reason he is on this is my man high pointed a ball like Most guys on a ball that didn't matter. All it did was change the final score. So listen, man, I'm a big effort guy. I know in the NFL you can't do the effort thing because it's the NFL and these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. But man, going up and mossing 3 Cowboy defenders to catch a ball that had no bearing on the game, that's enough. Like, it's the Tabor Pepper 3 star. Like, listen, you did something good. I'm gonna call you out for it. He gets a star. So 3 star. Player Kendrick Bourne.
Cool. 3rd star, Ahkello Witherspoon. Look, this is what I really wanted to see because there was this wide receiver group is dynamic. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, right? I want to see you line up against guys who are really good at what they do, and they all kind of win in different ways, right? Gallup's a little bit faster, can jump a little bit higher. Cooper's a route running technician, and we know that CeeDee Lamb is just great out of the slot. He wasn't really going to see him too much. But I thought Ahkello Witherspoon played great, man. Think about being in that doghouse, getting out there, playing the way that he did against the level of competition, and you could tell that he wants to prove a little something. So, I'm happy that he got out of the doghouse almost out of necessity, basically, because there was just bodies. But hey, when your number's called, you got to do what you got to do to put it on the film. And he had a great game this week, man. I'm so excited that he's playing really well because, a lot of people forget that when he was playing really well last year, the first few games, the defense was that much better, right? It just seems like there's always 1 or 2 little things that usually sends his confidence into the basement. That's something that, everybody understands football is more mental than anything. So that's something he's got to work out. But man, it was all there and it was all on display this week for you to see what everybody was excited about and how he played because he played it to that level. I had a ball watching him play this week.
Yeah, and I want to touch back on my point from last Friday's show, my number 1 receiver stat. Amari Cooper, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 10 yards. So not great numbers there from Amari.
Oh, wait. Did somebody tell you that he's not a wide receiver 1 and he don't have no dog in him?
Was that you?
Yes.
Oh, okay, my bad. My star number 2, Ahkello Witherspoon.
Cool.
I absolutely agree. He had a great game. I mentioned the 1 for 6 on targets, 2 pass deflections. Like, I don't know, man. He was just out there fighting and clawing and doing what he could. And I mean, as we said earlier in the show, like he's fighting for a contract. If he's not fighting for a contract at the 49ers, he's fighting for a contract somewhere else. So to see him show out and put that performance, especially after the season he had, all credit to him.
Yep, absolutely. Second star for me, Eric Armstead. Best game of the year, best game in a long time, right? Seems like it's a lot longer, right? Because of the talk, right? 2 sacks, 8 combined tackles, 5 solo, 3 assists, 2 tackle for losses, and 2 quarterback hits. Good God. Like I said, they ran a bunch of stunts this week. They got him free. Javon Kinlaw occupying 2 blockers and allowing him to, you know what it is? The technique from breaking off of the protection on the edge and on the inside is 2 different things. When you set up the stunt, you allow Eric Armstead to just react and just run, right? Because he's super fast. All he has to do is read the hole. So that's what happened. Once Kinlaw holds the 2 blocks, he read it perfectly, and he gets around him, and he gets right to the quarterback, man. Again, I think that should give more to the point of Eric Armstead is meant to be in a piece with everybody, right? He's not a standalone piece, right? He's a guy that's supposed to be there in addition to Bosa, in addition to initially what we thought Dee Ford and things like that. So to see him play this well with Kinlaw already, to see this little bit of switch, because we haven't seen him play inside. That's what we really wanted when we got another edge rusher, was really good. And I think that it's I think it's encouraging because, that's the way of him playing really well if he's going to be inside. Like, I think you have to play him where he's most comfortable at this point.
My number 1 star, some people like to call him Mr. Replaced DeForest Buckner because of his contract. Eric Armstead, number 1, for all the exact same reasons. Right. He gets such an unfair rap because 49er fans like to pretend that the Niners picked him over DeForest Buckner, which they didn't. They didn't. They picked him and Ward and Kinlaw and a bunch of other pieces over Buckner. That's all it is. It's a business, and that's what they had to do. 2 sacks. We got to see him. Listen, any chance I get a reference to him rubbing his belly, I'm happy. He's from Sacramento, which, by the way, is something we should touch on. He is. I don't know if you've missed it. Every time the Niners have a game, they like to reference. He is the 49ers representative for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. He does a lot of great things for children here in Sacramento. So more power. Good for him, especially. I'm from Sacramento, so I want to make sure that gets shouted out. You said the numbers. I'll reiterate them just so we can pound them in people's head. 2 sacks, 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. He was all over the place. An amazing game for him. Listen, he was meant to be a piece to work with Bosa and Ford, as you said. Didn't pan out that way. I'm going to say it right now. Expect a bounce back year next year for Eric Armstead.
Yeah, I mean, once everybody's here and this team reloads, for sure, and then people will just have to deal with their own thoughts, right? Like you say these things, but then you have to remember the context that they're in, right? Eric Armstead was never meant to be this dominant edge rusher by himself. Like, that's just not, So
I got a good joke.
No, here we go.
Just wait till 2021 when you pair Armstead with Bosa and Kinlaw and whatever edge rusher the Niners draft in the first round. Thank you.
There you go. Wow. Boom. You're going to piss a lot of people off with that one. All right. Number 1 star, you already know, is Brandon Ayuk. Good God. I don't know, man. That touchdown that he was a pass, or do you have the air yards on that one?
Which one?
His touchdown catch.
Oh, man. Let me see if I can find it. You keep talking and I'll look for it.
So, yes, open all day against anybody over the middle. I don't know what else to say, man, about this kid. I enjoy watching him run routes, and again, he has a chance to do something that Jerry Rice didn't do. And remember, he missed games. I thought that I read something today that it's insane. He said today in his press conference, I believe Jennifer Lee Chan was the one who tweeted it, but I think it was in his press conference today. He said that the game didn't slow down for him until after his little COVID break. Dear God, help anyone who is trying to cover Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to pray for you, because if it's slowing down for him now and he's starting to get it, get that man the quarterback and you guys are in trouble, man. Whew, good God.
Like just close your, if you're a 49er fan, close your eyes right now and picture the 2021 49er, and I'll even let people use their imaginations. Close your eyes and picture your quarterback of choice. And you just use your imagination. It can be Jimmy Garoppolo. It can be Zach Wilson. It can be Matt Stafford. Hell, close your eyes and imagine Patrick Mahomes. Let's have a moment of bliss, right? And just picture whatever that quarterback you have. Oh, throwing the ball to George Kittle. Goodness gracious. Ooh, Brandon Ayuk's there. I'm doing some ASMR stuff, but let's go.
Yeah, you are.
Brandon Ayuk's there, and then you look the other way, and it's Deebo Samuel. And then you look to your left, and oh, hey, Raheem Mostert. Oh, goodness. Like Jordan Reed. Good. Kyle Pitts. What are you doing here? No,
Kyle Pitts. How'd you get here?
no, like, just close your eyes and just imagine the 49ers offense healthy with whatever quarterback. And like, Kyle, this is for you. Richie James, he's there too. So like things like that. So like picture a fully healthy 49ers offense and just how dangerous. And then you look at the sideline and what's up, Kyle Shanahan? How you doing? How's that system working this year? So like the Niners offense is so exciting. No, like even if you put Garoppolo back there, like a healthy Garoppolo, we saw how it can look in 2019. And I'm sure in your fantasy that I just have you do, like Shanahan Garoppolo returns to his 2019 form somehow. We know what that looks like. It's really good. Also, Melissa, Matt Stafford and his glass back. Tell me how many games he's missed in his career. So sorry, that came off really
no. It's eight since 2008 or 2011. I'm sorry, 8 games since 2011.
Yeah. So yes, I understand the back is something to talk about with Stafford, but it hasn't really affected him.
Look, here we go. Look, put a cap on the Dallas game, right? I think this is the perfect place for us.
I had a whole spiel planned out.
Okay. I'm sorry.
We'll get to that. So, any last thoughts on the Cowboy game before we cut away?
No. Just 2020. Yeah, but happens.
All right. For the audio listeners, we are not recording a show on Friday. So for the audio listeners, if you want to have a podcast to listen to on Friday, this is where you stop. This is where you stop. This is where you undownload the episode and re-download the episode. So
I like that.
We get those numbers, This is your breaking point. This is you listen to the rest of the episode Friday, because we are going to dive into the Arizona game, which, by the way, I'm watching the Arizona condensed game as much as I can while we're talking about on this podcast.
Insane.
So for Friday, this is where you want to stop. For those of you listening on the podcast, it is now Friday. Merry Christmas. This is the Sprint Ride Option Podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Hustle Network. I'm Andrew Pasquini, Jason Aponte. How you doing today? Oh, you're good. That's good to hear. Kyle Shanahan said some words that I want to talk about.
I'm gonna sit back a little bit and I'm gonna enjoy myself. All right.
Listen, I get it. I understand from a fan standpoint. Don't play your best player. I get it. I understand everything you're saying. But what you are referring to in that sense is a very black and white thing with no emotions involved, that you're a fan and you don't have to make this decision. You want to talk about Kyle Shanahan losing the locker room? A good way to lose the locker room is having a player be 100% and saying, we're not going to play him. We're not going to play him. That's how those are moves you make to lose locker rooms. And I got into an argument on this on Twitter where people are like, no, you can't play him. I will pay you $20 to be the guy to tell a healthy George Kittle. We are talking about George Kittle, like one of the most energetic football players, a guy who loves playing football. You tell George Kittle, who is 100% healthy, hey man, we're not playing you. George Kittle probably would murder you. In the nicest, my man's watches wrestling. He probably hit you with a stone cold stunner.
Yeah, probably. Or you get Jazzy Jeff out of the training room.
Listen, I understand the aspect of keeping your guys healthy, but that's a black and white way to look at it.
Yep.
If guys are healthy and want to play, and listen, I don't know George Kittle. I don't know him. I haven't
we do. Friend of the pod.
I'm assuming George Kittle, when he knows he's healthy, he wants to play football games.
Yeah.
You're not telling George Kittle he's not playing if he's healthy. Plain and simple, cut the line there. We are done with this conversation for me. And Jason, I know you agree with me, so I really want to put it out there that you're going to make an argument just to play devil's advocate.
I am.
Right.
So let me put my fan hat on, right? Yes, I as the fan in me does not want George Kittle to play in this game, right? Everything is about next year, especially considering what we know now, right? And he still has the shoulder thing, right? I don't know if it's rotator cuff or a labrum, whatever. Somebody in the comments will let us know. So I really want him to get surgery on that as well. Get all that taken care of, like just completely get ready, right? But if he says he's not getting the surgery, here's why I have to take the fan hat off and look at this the same way that you are. You're absolutely right, Andrew. You can't tell somebody who's 100% you're not playing and somebody else who's 100% has to play. Another thing, George Kittle just got paid. Do you think that he wants to be known as the guy who's missing games after he just got paid? No. A lot of guys talk about after they get paid about their living up to the contract, the pressure and things like that in all sorts of professional sports, let alone a guy who is as competitive as George Kittle. I'll take it a step further. Who's starting these next 2 games? Maybe.
At quarterback or tight end?
Quarterback,
CJ Beathard and hopefully Josh Rosen, but probably CJ Beathard.
This is your last chance to play football with your buddy. You're never going to get to play. You're never going to get to play football again with your buddy. So look, the fan in me hates it. I understand exactly in black and white terms that you cannot do this. And in order to keep this locker room going, you have to play George Kittle, right? I would never want to be a guy who's 100% and says, I'm not going out there. Because that guy don't get no respect in any sort of locker room. George Kittle's going to play. I don't agree with it. The fan in me doesn't agree with it. But I agree with it if I was running the franchise. And that's really the way that you should be looking at it. Andrew nailed it.
Yeah, and like if players were afraid to get hurt, what advantage do any of these players have playing in these next 2 games for the 49ers, right? Like plain and simple. Like, yes, I understand Kittle's coming off injury, so it's a slightly different situation. But like if players were afraid to get, because yes, I understand in the back of your mind, everybody's afraid Kittle's going to get more hurt, but Kittle's not thinking about that. Kittle in his head, he's healthy. He's going to give it a go. Like, and like the other side of it too, as a fan, like I'm going to take my I talk about this team on a podcast hat and put my fan hat back on, and I'm going to switch. I don't know how I started doing this, but I compare a lot of things to baseball because I'm a baseball fan first, true and true. In 2018, before the 2019 season, the San Francisco Giants were attempting to pursue Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper was going to cost a lot of money no matter what way you cut it. And people were, because for some reason in baseball, people care about money like money is an issue because there's no cap space in baseball, right? My thing is Bryce Harper. You're still here. Bryce Harper is a good baseball player. Is he going to make the Giants good in 2019 and 2020? No, but what he does is he gives me 162 days out of a year where I can watch the Giants and be like, well, they might not be a good team, but I'm going to get to watch that one exciting player and see what Bryce Harper might do that day. That's the same sense for me with Kittle in this situation is I'm going to spend my Saturday and next Sunday watching the 49ers. And you know it, Jason, the 49ers haven't been particularly entertaining the past 6 weeks, right?
Yep.
Give me something to watch. And George Kittle is that something to watch. So I have an argument for both the fan standpoint and the logical standpoint. And I think both of them hold pretty solid. Like if I'm going to watch CJ Beathard play quarterback, I want to see what he can do with the best possible team the 49ers can put out there. And right now, the best possible 49er team there can be includes George Kittle in the offense. And plain and simple, I want to be entertained when I watch the 49ers. I don't want to watch this 6 turnovers every week, BS. I want to watch the best players play. And we don't know the next time we're going to get to watch the 49ers with how the world is in COVID. I want to see what they can do. So yeah, give me George Kittle on Saturday. I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, as a fan, the fan in me doesn't want him to play, but I understand what the right decision is. So that's it. And again, you want to be that guy to tell George Kittle he's not playing?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, Kittle's gonna play on Saturday, and 49. Like the funny thing is like everybody's questioning it. You close your eye. Like we're gonna do a close your eyes experiment again. Close your eyes and picture Twitter the first time George Kittle breaks a tackle between three guys. Twitter's gonna talk about how much they missed it and how fun it is. Like, come on.
I mean, we understand this year. This year has exposed a lot when it comes to this fan base, right? You know, how fickle things are, right? How quickly things change. So yeah, I mean, you know, with 49ers Twitter, things change with slight breeze. So yeah, I mean, imagine some sort of good play, right? The groupthink will change immediately from one thing to the other. Like the groupthink is now, oh, I don't want him to play, but then you're right. As soon as he makes some plays, oh, I'm so happy Kittle's back. He's better than Kelsey. I don't care if he's gonna break the record. Like all that stuff is gonna be there, like, you know, all over the timeline. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, Andrew, I was looking for a weather report earlier. I just didn't know it was gonna be raining facts this entire episode on Friday. I had no idea, man. You're out here dropping them.
I was like, why are you looking up weather reports? They're playing in Arizona. There's no roof. There's a roof. And as 49er fans, we should know Arizona has a roof at this point.
Yep.
I was like, where are you going with that? Yeah, so George Kittle's going to play. The 49ers are going to play a road game in a stadium that the next week they're going to play a home game in. They're playing the 8-6 Cardinals. And yeah, how do you want to go at this game? Because we can break it down in the sense like we have. Because this is what we do, but also like from a standpoint of this game is relatively irrelevant because the 49ers don't have in the sense of the playoffs, right? For the 49ers. But as I said on Wednesday's episode, for those of you listening to us on Friday on the audio portion, the 49ers can play spoilers. Arizona doesn't have an X by their name. They don't have a playoff spot clinched yet. What more fun? I can't think of a better way to spend my Saturday, the day after Christmas. Maybe, you know, you wake up a little hungover. You don't know what you're going to be at on Christmas, the day after Christmas. What better way to spend it than see if maybe the 49ers can mess up the Cardinals playoff chances?
Well, we'll revisit your mood after you watch CJ Beathard play a little, but I digress. I agree with you, you know. So
excuse me, you're talking about a man who had a 153.3 passer rating last week. Who right? My hopes are high right now.
I mean, they should be, honestly, you know. So I mean, yep. Here's a good question from Art Leroy. He always brings up some good questions. So, what value would there be to have a look at Rosen if he doesn't know the playbook? So, here's the thing, right? I think it's a little bit overblown, right? Because, all right, this is gonna be a slight flex, on Andrew and I part, but we had a chance to look at the actual playbook, and it's more verbiage. I think that's harder to understand than the other things. You know, everything else is pretty much set, you know, in the way that they run plays and things like that. And yes, it'll be stripped back if it was Josh Rosen, right? So that's why this week it doesn't seem like it's smart to throw him out there, even as much as I want a revenge game to happen, and it could be right there for the taking. But week 17, he should have a good enough grasp where they can go with him. And then what do you have to lose anyway, man? You strip down the playbook, you run it a ton, you see what he can do. And yeah, I mean, I don't see what the point is, especially if, you know, we're talking about trying to evaluate really. So yeah, man, I mean, I think that's it.
The only way Josh Rosen gets in on Saturday, as
if CJ Beathard is awful or gets hurt.
Well, I think if he's awful, like I still think he's going to play because I don't think Shanahan wants to put a player in a situation like that. I think the only way the 49ers see Rosen is if Beathard gets hurt, and God, please don't let Beathard get hurt. I'm tired of injuries, like just plain and simple. I'm tired of it.
Right.
So yeah, I don't see Shanahan unless, like, as I said, there's always that outside shot that Rosen somehow figures out the playbook in 2 days, which I don't think is really
hard.
It's probably hard. Or it is hard. Like I shouldn't even throw probably in that.
Dude, think about this, right? Like when we had our little access to the playbook. Did you start looking through it and just start like your eyes started to glaze over as far as like everything, like and all the stuff on the screen?
We got that sent. Like right when I woke up, and I opened it to save it, and I looked at the first page, and I'm like, "Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Confused. I don't even know what I'm looking at."
Right.
But like as I said, it doesn't hurt to play Rosen week 17 in Seattle.
Yeah.
Or against Seattle. Just how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of seeing Rosen on Saturday. Sorry, there's a reflection of like sirens in my window. I was very confused.
Oh wow, and we watch it end right there.
Distracted me. I don't think we're seeing Rosen on Saturday unless it's an absolute worst case scenario. And even then, I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't Rosen if something happens to Beathard.
Right. Or if Beathard just goes out there and he Beathards it up. You know
what I'm implying when I say that, right?
What's that?
I'm talking McKinnon shotgun formation.
Oh my God. Do not threaten me with a good time. Good gosh.
So I don't expect to see Rosen on Saturday.
See, but here, this is a good question too, Arnavor. And then we'll get back to the, I know we didn't want to deviate from questions, but this is a good one. So if the playbook's not that complicated, all this media talking legend about it is it verbiage? So it's not all that, right? The verbiage in the beginning is a little bit different, right? And it's about, the formations and the things that they run. And I think that what I found the most complicated about it was blocking assignments and things like that, and where he would have to call those protections out. That's probably the complicated part, right? That I noticed. But it was the verbiage and the personnel groupings. There's 21, there's 21 Turbo, there's, so 21 is Juice and Mostert. Turbo is, some combination of Mostert and McKinnon, right? Like it's two running backs and two halfbacks. It's a lot of things, right? So like we didn't get a chance to really deep dive into it. We're not football players or anything like that. But the verbiage seems to be what's the hard part about it. Everything else seems to be kind of standard as like a little bit of West Coast, a lot of play action, right? So that's the stuff that I say is like not as complicated. And then the other thing is when you notice these play designs, there's 2 and 3 underneath throws that one of them is open. So I think that's what I mean when it's not complicated. There's always an out underneath read. So I think that's what it is.
And I want to preface this talk by saying we do not have the 2020 playbook. That's not. No, that's not. We have an old Shanahan. We have access to an old Shanahan playbook, which is give or take what he's running now.
Right.
And it's pretty easy to imagine what it looks like with the current 49ers. We don't have a mythical 2020 playbook somehow, I think only the 49ers players have that.
I don't think anybody has that, right? I think the only way you can get that is after the year's over.
Yeah, so I think the one we had was like 2017 or something like that. We have an old playbook, but
no, we have 2017, 2018, and I think we have the 15-16 Falcons too.
Yeah, so in terms of Niners, we've only seen the 2018 stuff. But it's easy to kind of pick and plug what it looks like now. So you said you had some stats, and I'm curious to hear these because something we like to talk about is the 49ers struggle with the RPO and option offenses. So you want to drop some knowledge on them, Jason?
Right. So I think that everybody would say that the thing that you're worried about with Kyler Murray is the run part, right? And, he's been killing it. But if you dig a little bit deeper into, how he's been used and asked to run. So we've got some stats with him out of the RPO. So it looks like he took about, 142 snaps, which are RPO. He had 1,024 passing yards on 106 attempts. He's only run the ball 36 times out of RPO for 236. So what does that tell you? That tells you that he's getting his on either broken plays or straight up design runs. So what's the thing that we're worried about all the time with Kyler Murray or any sort of running quarterback with this defense is that they can't defend it, right? So having said all that, right? Having said that, I do expect them to use RPO and use to exploit it, much more. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran more out of the RPO this game just because they know that it matches up well with what the 49ers, had problems with earlier on in the season, right? Because the 49ers haven't had to meet quarterbacks like that, right? Goff doesn't run it. Wilson's not really running it. Like those guys, we didn't really see anybody with it. So now it's right back in our face again after having it for week 1. So I really thought it was interesting that when I looked at those numbers, you would think that he's running these RPOs and he's just taking off. Well, it's not the case. He actually throws a ton more out of RPOs than I actually ever thought. That's like a 75% to 25% difference, honestly. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, I see a lot of good questions in the chat. We're going to answer those at the very end like we have been. I love seeing these questions because there's a lot of good questions. Yeah, and I think running out of the RPO, it really helps when you have a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins, which, by the way, DeAndre Hopkins has twice as many targets as Christian Kirk, who's second on the team in targets. So like it does make it a lot easier. What you're going to see Kyler hurt the Niners is these designed runs and these just broken plays. Because for me, like the RPO, I don't think you use it to necessarily set up. Because when we picture, because there is a difference, and I feel like a lot of people get lost in this. There is a difference between options and RPO.
Yep.
Option in your head is what Navy and Army runs, is those options where the quarterback has the ball, he can hand it off to his fullback, he can hand it off to the running back, or he can keep it. There's not a pass option there. RPO, and I know a lot of these people probably know this. Yes. RPO stands for run pass option. So what the RPO is think of it as a glorified play action. There is typically one route being ran and everybody else is more or less blocking. So the quarterback has the option to hand the ball off or get rid of it very quick. It's not one of these things where they get it up because the offensive line doesn't know what's happening behind them. They're going to push forward as if every time it's a run play. So you have to get rid of the ball quick, because if they get it, 1 yard? Like they get 2 or 3 yards. Once they get out of that 3-yard area, it's ineligible man downfield. So you're not going to see Kyler run the ball off and out of RPOs. So that's
go ahead.
That's my breakdown of it, and I'm afraid you're just going to be like, Andrew, you're wrong. You just wasted 5 minutes.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I love everything you said.
That's the difference between the RPO and the option, and why you see, because essentially the RPO is, if you're going to throw the ball, you're just hoping you hold the ball long enough in that run to get the cornerbacks to bite, to get your guy open. That's really all it's looking for. I don't know if you can tell, I've been playing a lot of Madden and I run the RPO a lot, and that's why I'm so smart in this right now. I love it.
Well, you have to read the edge defender. That's
exactly.
That's what it's all about.
So there's a read, and typically there's not a lot of time to decide to throw the ball. And I think that's where we get a little confused, because I think now when we see a designed run or an option run where the quarterback tries to give the ball to the running back but keeps it and runs himself, that's not an RPO. That is an option. That is just straight option play.
Man, again, it's raining facts out here.
So, I like it when I sound smart. I don't know if you
I mean, you do all the time, Andrew. You know, give yourself some more credit. But I thought something else was really interesting too, right? So, you know, we saw the Cardinals come out like gangbusters like this year, right? But then if you look at like sort of the competition, right? So look, I'm not trying to be funnier, right? So the first week against the 49ers, 404 total yards. Next week against Washington, you know, this is not the same Washington team at that time, 438 yards. Lions, 377. That's their first loss. Panthers, 262, second loss. And then they lit up the Jets, Cowboys, and Seahawks for 500 basically each week, right? Actually had a good game against the Dolphins. They lost, right? They beat the Bills on the Hail Mary, right? And then these are the next 3 weeks, right? And this is coincides with Kyler Murray's shoulder injury, right? Seattle, they lose, 314 total yards. New England, 298. Los Angeles Rams, 232, and then they beat the Giants and then the Eagles, and then this past week, you know, they went crazy, 526 yards. So I think it's just funny how this offense has gone up and down in waves, you know, especially, you know, with so many things to contribute to it. You know, there was some stat that was out there. It was a next-gen stat. For a while, when they lost those 3 straight games, they had run like DeAndre Hopkins, I think it was like around 94% of the time from the left side only, like literally just keeping him on the left side and then running routes that are like short routes, and it looked ugly. And it coincides with Kyler getting hurt, Cliff, you know, not calling good plays. Yes, I'm going to call him out. You know how I talk about I don't like calling out, you know, play calling and things like that. Yeah, some of these play calls are terrible. And when you put DeAndre Hopkins on one side of the field and you become completely predictable, yeah, I'm going to blame the play caller. DeAndre Hopkins is more than that. He'll never say anything in the press, but you know, that's just what it is. So I thought it was funny how, you know, they go ahead and they go on this downturn, and now it seems like a little bit, at least these last 2 weeks, they've kind of picked it up. So I'm interested to see what Arizona offense we get this week. Do we get, you know, wheeling, dealing, styling, profiling Kyler, or do we get that offense that we saw those 3 weeks when, the concerns about the shoulder were there and Kyler and Cliff wasn't in his bag?
Listen, you make a good point regarding the yardage. The magic number to watch for, 400. The Arizona Cardinals, when they gain 400 or more yards, total offense, are 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-1, 6-1, 7-1. When they get less than 400 yards, they're 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, 1-5.
Yeah.
And they should arguably be a little bit worse over 400 yards because they needed all 453 yards to beat the Bills on that Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So it really comes down to that. Now, can the 49ers hold them to 400 or less yards with what the defense is? Yes, that's fully possible. Now, am I saying if the 49ers hold the Cardinals to under 400 yards, am I guaranteeing
they're going to win?
No, because you got to consider too, if the 49ers turn the ball over and the Cardinals only have to go 25 yards for a touchdown, that's not going to help them get to 400 yards, but it's going to get them points on the board. I'm just saying it's something to keep an eye on. The Cardinals offense can put up a lot of yards. It can put up a lot of points, but there are times where they get held and they don't look great. And I know a lot of it coincided with the injury to Kyler. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it. Kyler's more healthy coming into this game. He's getting healthier every week.
He looked really good last week.
Just keep an eye on the 400-yard mark.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a great point. Like again, it doesn't, that's why stats lie sometimes, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
There was that stat out there, that people have floated out this week. The 49ers are 18-1 when they run, they rush the ball over 25 times. That's kind of fool's gold, right? Like that's, that doesn't really make any sense when you really think about it. So you're telling me
not when you're leading, you run the ball more.
Right. So, and that's my thing, right? So if that's the magic key, then if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm going to run the ball 25 straight times and say, we did it. We won,
We're going to win.
Right.
Just first 25 plays out the gate. Just run 25 straight runs. Hey, we don't even have to finish this. We're going to win.
Cut the lights off and let's all get out of here. We know how this is going to end. That's not how it works.
Cynthia has a good question.
Yes.
Who's covering DeAndre Hopkins?
Good question. Jason Verrett practiced in full, so he's going to be playing this week. And Sherman's been playing his side. Mm-hmm. That's it. So if Hop's on his side, Sherman will be there. But Sherman's been bailing lately. I don't know if you guys have noticed. He's not right. I'll just say it. He's injured. Okay. He's injured and he's also protecting himself because he is about to get one more bag somewhere else, whether that's with us, that's fine or whatever. But he's hurt. He's hurt. And that's why he's bailing in coverage. He's bailing 10, 12 yards out. He's trying to not get beat. That's why if you notice in the beginning of the game with Dallas, they were running a ton of comebacks. And when Andrew brought up Sherman's stats, it was because Sherman's bailing. He's scared of getting beat up top. It's the leg. It's the calf, and I'm gonna say it's more Achilles than calf. And again, you can't knock the guy for putting himself in a position to get paid one more time. And I'm gonna steal a point from Vish. He was on a stream with me yesterday. That Richard Sherman, he represents himself. So the idea of him putting out that, yeah, I understand that I don't fit here because Fred's got to get paid, all these things. It's almost like he's telling people, I'm leaving because I don't fit here. I'm not leaving because there's a drop in my play. So that's something else to keep your eye on.
I don't care who covers DeAndre Hopkins. I just don't want there to be 8 yards of space off the line of scrimmage.
And that's exactly what happened in week 1, which is baffling. And we still have no answer for it. That one we can nitpick. That makes 0 sense.
DeAndre Hopkins week 1, for those of you who forget, because it was 4 months ago. And in 2020, 4 months is 7 years. Yep. DeAndre Hopkins, 14 receptions, 16 targets, 155 yards. The 49ers constantly played soft coverage on him. I don't know what the game plan was for that. And DeAndre Hopkins gladly said, okay, I'll take what you're giving me. And he really cooked. I mean, there was 2 things that I think cost the 49ers that game. I think it was DeAndre Hopkins and Garoppolo. His numbers look good. It's funny looking at the numbers now. He went 19 for 33, 259, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
And wait. And how many were on one pass?
Yeah, no, that's my point. Like, this is why you can't look at box scores, because I vividly remember looking at that game.
Yeah,
John
11
Oliver's
3
creepy
so
Algo says we need Brian Allen again. I love it.
That's actually that's really good.
Because I vividly remember that game saying Garoppolo looked really bad. His numbers lie. His numbers absolutely lie on that. Because he didn't look good. Like 19 for 33, 259, 2 touchdowns. On paper looks good. It's a good game, but he wasn't great.
Right. And I mean, and I don't think anybody's talking about, because I see it in the comments, Arden Roy saying, I don't think anybody has the answer for Hopkins. It's just about not letting him get 14 for like 140 or anything like that. Like you can't let that happen. If that happens, he just had a better game than you, but you have to be in his space, like at least a little bit to try and stop him, with so much coverage. I mean, it was just like so much gap coverage. It was crazy. Like, I really don't understand, I can't speculate. I wasn't in walkthroughs. I wasn't in the game plan, but I really don't understand what the game plan was with Hopkins. It's just like, oh, stay away, you know what? Let Hopkins run his routes and build up some rapport with Kyler Murray. Yeah, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, and I know we argued about who isn't and who is a wide receiver 1 last week. I think we can both agree DeAndre Hopkins.
I think we can agree that DeAndre Hopkins is absolutely a wide receiver 1. Yes, 100%.
Yes. Listen, the Cardinals offense is going to be what it is. Boy, I'm gonna hand up a question I asked a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Before the Seahawks game, of no knock on Pete Carroll, but is Pete Carroll the worst coach in the NFC West?
Okay.
Hands up, I was wrong asking that question. Cliff Kingsbury
is, and it's not particularly close. Not particularly close.
Okay, verbal. I'm going to go verbal meme. Mom, can we have Kyle Shanahan? Mom says we have Kyle Shanahan at home, and then you get home and it's Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I love it.
The idea of Cliff, listen, I fully understand why they pick Cliff Kingsbury, because the college style offense is more or less working in the NFL nowadays. It's a lot of spread. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of what he ran in college. Unfortunately for Cliff Kingsbury, it looks a lot better when you're running against Big 12 offenses or Big 12 defenses than it does in the NFL. Like this is how it is. And a lot of his things is like just questionable decision-making, time management, sort of things. I think Shanahan should be able to coach circles around. Whoa, what happened to my voice there?
Because you were skeptical.
Yeah, it was my skeptical, questioning voice. Kyle Shanahan should be able to coach circles around Cliff Kingsbury. Unfortunately, as we learned, it really doesn't come down to coaching at this point. It comes down to what the 49ers have on the field. And as it stands, the Arizona Cardinals are a better team than the 49ers.
And if I could go off on a tangent real quick, the reason that this offense succeeds in any way, I'm going to give you guys a hint. It's not Cliff Kingsbury. It's the little guy who plays quarterback for him. So when we talk about having one of those franchise guys, a franchise guy can lift an okay game plan, can lift skeptical calling, can lift, do you understand? Now we're talking about a franchise quarterback covers so many warts, right? So many. Even if he's playing bad and he makes the wrong play, Kyler's going to do something because Kyler's that guy. Kyler makes all the plays. That's what we're talking about. Right now, this offense is succeeding because of Kyler Murray. Something's crazy. I think it's like something like a ton of his production is just like on the ground, but it's not out of the RPO like we were talking about. So like it's crazy, right? You never see him take a hit really, unless it's in the pocket, unless he gets killed, but he never takes a hit. And he's lifting this team up right now. There's no other quarterback that would have this team in the position that they're in right now. And it's not because of Cliff Kingsbury. I'm sorry. It's not the system. It's quarterback.
It's almost the exact opposite of the 49ers situation. Is it not though?
Yeah, no, it is. That's the thing.
We're talking about Shanahan's play calling ability while seeing what personnel he has.
Mm-hmm.
And we're criticizing it like it's supposed to be running 100% regardless of who's in there. The Cardinals are the opposite. They're showing you how important a good personnel is because their personnel covers up a lot of Cliff Kingsbury's issues.
Flaws.
Like let's talk about that. Like, personnel covers up a lot of issues. Listen, and I really don't want to be. I don't want to say.
I love it. I love it. Keep going.
I want to say this because of who he is now.
Keep going.
Are the Cardinals 8-6 with Josh Rosen running this offense?
No.
49er legend Josh Rosen, I need to say
That's
that.
right. That's right.
49er, he is the best quarterback in the NFL if he's on the Niners, but in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, he is not. So like, and that's my point, is like the importance of personnel. You're seeing it with the Cardinals. You're seeing it with certain teams that are overachieving at this point, right? Like there are certain teams, and I'm trying to pull up the standings so you kind of see how important personnel is. Is there a good example on this right now? I don't think so. There is. No, I think all the good teams are up there. Well, like even too, like you want to, I guess, going the opposite of my point. You want to talk about how important personnel is? It's weird how Bill Belichick isn't as good when he doesn't have Tom Brady in a defense. It's weird how that works. Bill Belichick is widely considered the greatest head coach of all time, but even he couldn't overcome the issues the team has had because the personnel isn't there. It really is like people try to think like coaching is super important when realistically it's closer to a 50-50 split than you think. Yeah. People think that firing your coach and bringing in a new guy instantly is going to make him good. And yes, it does happen. Head coaches use personnel incorrectly sometimes. Like example, the 2010 49ers to the 2011 49ers. That team was pretty much the same. And you got a head coach in there in Jim Harbaugh who knew how to work with what he had.
Right.
And he made the personnel work. So yes, there are times like that. But you want to look at how important personnel is. Look at the Cardinals. Yeah. Plain and simple. Cliff Kingsbury isn't a head coach that I'd consider in the top half of the NFL. But his team is on the fringe of a playoff berth. Listen, if you put Kyle Shanahan on the Cardinals, like the Cardinals are probably sitting at like, I don't know, a 13-1,
13-0,
14-0. Like personnel is important, and the Cardinals are going to show you that's really what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%, and I think that's what we're talking about when we say we want a guy, right? He has to lift up the roster when things go bad, with injuries. He's still the constant, and that's, something that, unfortunately the 49ers don't have right now, and hopefully they'll address, in the offseason, man. That's it, and Josh Rosen wouldn't be successful right there, and that's why they made the move. Like, it had to be both. Like, Cliff wasn't going to sell being the head coach there if he's like, I'm bringing Kyler with me. Like, they wouldn't have brought him there for that.
Yeah, yeah. Just plain and simple. Like, yes. Does Kingsbury help Murray a little bit with his college gameplay calling?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, but I think a lot of the reason this team's successful is just the players they have. Because I feel like you could put Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins on 32 teams,
mm-hmm.
and 32 teams are better right now. I guess the excuse, the difference of like maybe the Chiefs, maybe the Ravens, because they have their version of Kyler and DeAndre.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a select few teams that do have better options.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Belichick point that you brought up too. So right, their record isn't good, right, because of what's going on and everything as well. I would argue that I think that this year Bill Belichick has done his best coaching job of his entire career. Like, and that goes to show you right there that I just told you in a year that they didn't make the playoffs, that I have been more impressed with the way Bill Belichick has coached this year than I was in all those other years. Again, I'm not making a joke. Got to watch the Matt Patricia thing, and when he was showing stuff about what the Patriots do, the Patriots practice small things in practice. They practice you ever see a defender swipe at somebody's ankle when they pass them to see? They practice that. They practice that. Those guys fall on the ground and they practice that. Like, those are all the small. They practice getting your arm around with the left arm and punching the ball out with the right. Like, they practice all those small things. That's why they're so well coached. That's why they ran so well. Like, yes, Tom Brady helps, but Bill Belichick's done the best job that I've seen this year because of the limited personnel. So that's where it's different, right? Mm-hmm. You take a barren personnel, you give it to Cliff Kingsbury. They're not probably going to win a game this year. You flip it and you give it to Bill Belichick. They find a way to eke out 6 games even without all the opt-outs and nothing on offense.
Oh, if the Patriots have their entire defense, they're probably a playoff team right now. And like, even too, like, to go, oh God, we're talking a lot about the Patriots.
That's fine.
But to go even deeper into the importance of coaching, Bill Belichick is, and I know Josh McDaniels has a lot to do with it as well, because Josh McDaniels runs the offense there.
Mm-hmm.
the importance of coaching adapting to the personnel. The Patriots didn't try to fit a square peg in a round hole and say, well, we're just going to replace Tom Brady with Cam Newton and just run the same offense. Their offense is adapted to what Cam Newton is. So, like, we're really just making a lot of roundabout points that, like, personnel and coaching go hand in hand.
That's a meme, right? The Twitter meme.
Yes. Oh my God, we're gonna make that the handshake.
Yeah, that's it. Right, that's it.
So like, yes, you can criticize Shanahan's coaching ability this year, but you have to realize, yes, it's poor because the personnel's not there. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we just keep making different points for why you got to ease up off coach anyway. But yeah, I mean, I realistically, we got to stick on the Cardinals, and I was just trying to make a point about why they have won so many games. Like, he is playing that well. He is an MVP candidate. Like, you have to say these things, right? He's carrying this team. And without him, they're nothing. They're nothing. And I mean, you could say that about pretty much any quarterback, but he's in his second year. He's in his second year already.
Yeah, he's 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Like, those are MVP type
26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. It's crazy. How many on the ground?
Oh, yeah, and that's just throwing
passing.
I'm not even including running numbers, which I am pulling up as we speak. I was looking at ESPN's box score, and they only have his throwing numbers because it was in the context of throwing the ball. Rushing 123 rushes. Oh my goodness, 741 yards.
Yep.
He has 37 touchdowns.
37 touchdowns from one player. Kyler Murray's a baller, bro. And I'm sorry, man. I'm 49ers fans. Godspeed to all of us, because now we have to deal with this kid forever. No, they're gonna move Cliff whenever that is, and he'll still be there, and they'll still be good.
The 49ers have to play 4 games against Russell Wilson, pretty much.
Nice. I didn't know
one is Russell Wilson, who runs better because Russell Wilson uses his mobility to make plays happen. Throwing the ball, he can run for big plays, yes, but he uses his mobility to make plays. Kyler Murray uses his running ability to make plays throwing the ball, and he uses his mobility to run the ball better. So, sheesh. Big sheesh.
So I didn't know we were going to get depressed again, but I mean, I guess we could move on to the 49ers and try to, talk about how they're going to attack. Let's play a game. It's Friday, right?
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
It's Friday.
George Kittle's playing.
George Kittle is playing.
What are we doing? What are we thinking for this game as far as a prediction?
For Kittle?
I mean, no. For this offense, right? CJ Beathard, Kittle, no Mostert, right? Jeff Wilson's going to start. Brandon Ayuk, Kendrick Bourne. We'll probably see School again at right guard. They don't have Chandler Jones. This game is drastically different. It's what is it, 15 weeks apart? These two teams look completely different, basically, at really important spots, So, what do you foresee for this offense, man? I feel like we're going to be broken records about how we talk about, how to attack. But, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Don't turn the ball over.
Okay.
That's a good start.
Yep.
I really think, and I don't mean this in a negative, I think they're going to use Kittle like they did in week 1 as a decoy. Because you got to remember, Kittle got hurt week 1. And I'm saying it in a sense of I think he'll be out there. And they're going to use him because listen, George Kittle is 100%. George Kittle is 100%. That's the only reason why we're talking about him playing, because if he was not 100%, he wouldn't be playing. Like, plain and simple. Let's be honest about that. I think the Niners are going to put him out there, and they're gonna run some plays through him. But I think it's the idea of George Kittle on this offense. That's going to help the Niners offense, because realistically right now in terms of passing game, it's Ayuk and who's going to beat you, right? Like, Kendrick Bourne's a solid receiver, but he's typically not going to be a guy who's going to break a game open. Richie James, the same thing. The only reason Richie James had that big game against Green Bay is because he was the only guy they really had to throw to, unless you want to throw to Trent Taylor or you want to throw to River Craycraft. Who are you going to throw to, right? You're going to throw to Richie James. So I think this is going to be a heavy Ayuk game. I think this is going to be another 100-yard game for Ayuk. I'm not too impressed by the second. I know they have individual. Pat Pete is still pretty good. He's not what he used to be. Buda Baker's back there. Certain guys are back there that are pretty good. I think this is going to be a big game for Ayuk, because really we haven't seen too much of Ayuk and Kittle together. And I think That's right. Wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 right there. Right.
Yeah.
Like no offense to Debo, but in a fully healthy offense, Debo's probably the third receiver.
Right.
And like that's nothing against Debo or anything. That's just saying, factually speaking,
Right.
Debo's the third option on this team.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if it's 3. I don't know if he's 3, honestly, because when Mostert's there, it seems like when Mostert's there and when Debo's there, it seems like they're like 1-2 almost, right? Like, I mean, and the point that I wanted to make up about Kittle is the way that he affects the offense, even if he's not catching passes, you already know how, the run blocking. So, it seems like this offense always has a run with, well, it's not going to be Mostert. It'll be Jeff Wilson, but it'll still help. Where I'm like, oh, there it is. It's just missed by a little bit, right? Somebody holds their block and it just lets it go at the last second. And there's still that explosive play that's there for this running game that can be unlocked by a guy just holding their block for like a millisecond longer and a lot. So that's, if he is going to be a decoy, that's fine. But his overall impact on his offense, can be argued is bigger than anybody's because of what he offers.
I'm going to say a sentence that I feel like a few of these listeners, a few of our day one people have been wanting us to say for a long time. Are you ready for this sentence?
Yep.
2 tight end set with Jordan Reed and George.
Oh, give it to me.
We're probably going to get to see some of that because Jordan Reed has shown I kind of joke about it, but Nick Mullins, for some reason, the receiver he misses the most is Jordan Reed. Like, for some reason, Jordan Reed gets open and Mullins just can't hit him for some reason. So I think Reed has shown his ability to be a good tight end on this team. I think he's been fine. And so I think we're going to get to see it. Like, we've been asking for it and we haven't really gotten it, obviously, because they haven't been healthy at the same time. But 2 tight end set, give it to me with Kittle and give it to me with Jordan Reed.
Right. One more point too that we kind of forgot about. Yeah, before I forgot about the Dallas game, Jordan Reed does throw his arms up whenever he's missed by Nick Mullins, but he also dropped the pass. Did you throw your arms up then? I really didn't like that. Honestly, I thought that was kind of weak. So,
you know what? I know what play you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say fringe. That throw was a little like that was one of those throws that I'm going to categorize in. Reed probably should have caught it.
Yep.
But it wasn't a good throw still because he had to extend pretty like I'm in the camp of if you get 2 hands on it, catch it. But there are some issues where the throw, if it's a touch closer to the body, it's a catch every time.
Yeah, but still, I mean, if you're not gonna allow a guy to be perfect when he's targeting you, then you have to it has to be both ways. You can't show the quarterback up and then again, if we ask Jordan Reed, he probably tells you I have to catch that. That's my thing. So, but anyway, 2 tight end sets. Imagine that. That's something I didn't even think of. Like right now, that's really got me excited too. So, if we're able to bring Jordan Reed back and he wants to come back and do some sort of loyalty thing because we stuck with him through everything and he wants to be back next year and it fits and it works, cool. Good. And let's see it. Let's see a little of it.
Listen, I don't know the legality of this. I don't know if this is legally binding if I say this. Talking about 2 tight end sets.
Legally binding.
If we go into the weirdest timeline where the 49ers somehow get Kyle Pitts out of Florida in the first round, like for some, let's say hypothetically, like they address their biggest needs, quarterback and defensive back in free agency. And they're at a point where they're like, yeah, we can draft the best available player with the 12th pick. And they draft Kyle Pitts. I just want, is it Kyle? I think it's Kyle, right? I feel bad if I'm getting it's Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why I was questioning myself.
Bring all the Kyles here. Get every single Kyle in Santa Clara.
I just want it to be known that the Sprint Right Option podcast with Andrew Pasquini and Jason Aponte have the copyright of Pitts and Kits. That's all.
My God.
Yes, I just want it thrown out there. Trademark department of the government. We are trademark squatting on Kits and Pitts.
That's it.
We're writing it down. Don't send it to the group. Don't tweet it. Don't tweet it yet. I've tweeted it. I've tweeted it. First of all, I have tweeted it.
Oh, all right.
And I want my name on this tweet, but Kits and Pitts.
Send it again. Go.
Kits and Pitts. Kits and Pitts. Let's talk about it. So Anyways, off on a tangent talking about two tight end sets. This is the longest we have gone. It's gonna get weird. I apologize. Kits and Pits is a thing. That might even be the title of the podcast. Who knows where we go? Just remember, kids, that when you open your presents on Friday, you're listening to this podcast. If you say Kits and Pits, Santa's gonna bring you good presents.
And you have to Venmo Andrew and I $1.
Yes, because that is legally trademarked by the Sprint Right Option podcast.
And that's the law.
That's the law. That's how the rules work. So anyways, back on the topic, what we can expect out of the 49ers offense. I think this run game is still going to go through Jeff Wilson.
It has to.
Because the offense is going to still go through the run game despite it being Jeff Wilson. Sorry, I worded that weird. The offense is going to go through the run game. Jeff Wilson's going to be there because it went through Jeff Wilson in New England, and Jeff Wilson had the best game of his career. I still see that being the case. The Niners are going to try and throw the ball off the run as they have. Are you ready? Are you ready? Get your shot glasses ready. The Niners offense it's going to have to shorten the game, run the ball well. Drink, because I've said that every episode for the last 6 weeks.
Pretty much. It's like in Speed when they cut the clip of over and over. Like you could literally do that for this podcast. Yeah. When we do the breakdown, it's just like cut the clip from last week and just like enter it there.
I really miss the days where we could talk about Garoppolo's going to have to play well and this and that. But now it's really the key of the game for the offense is control the clock.
Yep.
Run the ball well, shorten the game. Don't let Kyler be on the field long enough. That's really
don't let him extend drives. You have to keep him in the pocket. All these things, right? It's right back to that. I think this one feels a little bit better because we didn't have this podcast in week 1, so these are the things that we would have said in week 1. So it feels a little bit more fresh. We have to keep him in the pocket. Make sure that he's not extending plays and he's not finishing on third down. And those third downs are backbreakers. Like he's so smart. He knows where the sticks are. He knows where to put the ball out. And if he's making those plays and the defense has to stay on the field, man, that's when you're that's when you're really gonna start to feel it. Because that's when once your win goes, and all of a sudden you start losing your positioning and you start losing your assignments, and that's when Kyler just takes over and he kills you. So yeah, it's a simple game plan on defense. But this is going to be the closest that at least the secondary is to being fully healthy for this game all year, probably, right? Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Jason Verrett played week 1, right?
He did.
Yeah.
Did he?
I think. No, it was Mosley and Sherman.
Yeah, it was Mosley and Sherman.
Mm-hmm. I think Verrett played his first game in. I think he played some snaps in that game, but I know he played the Giants game.
Yeah, no, he didn't play because Sherman got injured the week 1 game.
Right.
And that's why they had to go to Verrett.
Right.
I'm gonna see if he recorded any downs real quick. I'm looking at the ball. This is great radio on your Friday.
No, it's good. No, but yeah, it's simple. You just and then I just really want to see them amend the game plan. You just you cannot allow DeAndre Hopkins to be out there just running his routes, run those comebacks and those back shoulder throws that are just easy, right? Like you can't just allow him to do that because then you're just setting yourself up to try and bite on that so he can hit you with a double move, and it's not gonna be good. Verrett's fine in covering him, but I just fear more when Sherman's over there. And if you start to shade somebody up top, then it leaves people in the middle of the field, and then that's when Kyler is gonna start running around. Like you can't run a 2-man shell up top against Kyler Murray. You have to play single high. You have to have more people in the box. So this is what makes it all harder. Like people are like, oh, shade more people there. It's hard. You can't. Like you really can't. Not when you're trying to stop him from running. Yeah,
Jason Verrett did not play He didn't play week 2 either. Actually, I think it took. Because I think Mosley got hurt in the week 2 game, and it forced the Niners to play Akello and Verrett.
Yeah. Yep.
Prediction time? I think this game is going to be a football game that exists. That's my thought. So hang on. I just had the spread. I lost it. Let me pull it up real quick. Before we make these predictions, I believe I saw it was Arizona -5. I'm working to confirm that as we speak. Oh, by the way, important thing I need to say. This game is played on Saturday. And unfortunately, I don't think it's on TV.
Amazon Prime.
On Amazon Prime. So if you don't have Amazon Prime, there is a way to watch this game. Legally. I'm not going to advertise the illegal ways. The game will also be streamed on Twitch. So I don't think this game is going to be on TV. It might actually be on local. I'm assuming it'll show up on Fox for 49er fans or for Bay Area and people in the Niners blackout area. But for people like you, Jason, who live on the East Coast, I believe it's going to have to only be on Prime. Yeah, so for local fans, it should be on cable television. I think you should be fine on that. If you're outside of the San Francisco, California, Santa Clara area, it's either going to be on Prime Video, or if you want to watch it for free, it is on Twitch. The game will be on Twitch.
Okay.
Which, for those of you who don't know what Twitch is, twitch.tv. Yes, Horatio, you make a good point. I don't know why the NFL needs to put these games on paywall channels.
You know why? You know why?
I know why, but like, come on, make the game publicly. Because, like, listen, if I told my dad right now, hey, you have to watch this game on Twitch, he would look at me and be like, what word are you? Yeah. So as it stands, so the game is Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. It is not a Sunday game. It's a Saturday game. If you're outside of the Bay Area, it's going to be on Prime and Twitch. So I want to make that abundantly clear for our fans who don't have access to those things. There's ways to watch this game. In the current game, the 49ers are 5-point underdogs. Arizona is a -5-point favorite. Jason, who do you got? Do the Cardinals cover? And the over-under sits at 49. Are you over or under?
What's the spread?
49.
That's the point total.
Yes.
The line.
Oh, the line is Arizona -5.
-5. Yeah, Arizona covers. Arizona's going to win this game like 28-17, 28-20. Just, CJ Beathard starting. I don't really need to deep dive. Arizona needs this game more. The 49ers are going to play hard. CJ Beathard's going to limit them because he's the third string quarterback. Like, I don't want to deep dive too much. Like, I just don't see how they win this game. Now, and again, for the people that want them to lose, they're going to try to win and they're going to lose. If that's not the definition of elegant tank for you, I don't know what is.
I got Arizona covering at -5, but I'm going to go over 49. I think the boy, oh boy, I'm going to go Iowa shootout here. I'm going to go Beathard hits Kittle twice, 2 touchdowns. There's 14. I think Arizona is gonna put up points. I really do. I mean, if you look at the first time these two teams played, what was the final score? 27-24? I believe it was, if my memory serves correctly. No, 24-20. So that's under the 49. I'm going to say over 49 for no other reason than I just hope there's a lot of points so it's an entertaining game when the 49ers lose by more than 5 points.
Right.
Is that good?
Yeah.
So I had I saw a few questions. I'm going to try and find them. 49er thoughts asked. This is more of a draft question.
Yep.
Zach Wilson or Kyle Trask?
Stop, man. Look, I'm not even caught up in the hype, anything like that. I just know that Zach Wilson has a higher ceiling, right? You have the 1-year thing. I've seen the talk around it. There's a few things floated out today about his character or something like that. By the way, stop listening to Walter Football. Sorry, they're not smart. Okay. Yeah, it's Zach Wilson. His ceiling's higher. Kyle Trask seems safe. Kyle Trask seems like Jimmy. Almost the same thing. He does a lot of the things that Kyle likes, reads the defenses, fast, he says, and things like that. Just seems safe, man. Sometimes you got to swing for the fences, man. I think it's Wilson. I think it has to be Wilson at this point, right? Like,
yeah. If I'm picking between the two, it's Zach Wilson every 10 out of 10 times, twice on Sunday.
Right.
49er thoughts also asked, if the 49ers don't draft a quarterback in the first round, who do they draft?
Ooh, that's a great. So the second need for me is interior O-line for me. Again, this year, we haven't seen the guards play well. Obviously, there's been injuries, right? And I think the 49ers kind of did themselves a disservice by just saying that, Daniel Brunskill is going to be able to be moved around and he'll be able to play wherever, right? That's not fair. And I think that they kind of, made a little bit of a mistake there. So, we saw the interior O-line get blown up a lot last year. I'm not going to talk about when because you guys know when it was most apparent. But, there's been interior O-line problems, and it needs to be fixed. Center clearly needs to be addressed. We can't keep running out guys that aren't centers, right? Richburg's not coming back. Ben Garland's injured. You have to invest. I want to see some investment in guards, but this interior O-line would be the second one for me. And if a really close one would be edge as well.
Yeah, for me, interior offensive line scares me in the first round unless you can get a Quentin Nelson.
So,
because
all right, so
I think with Quentin Nelson, we kind of knew he was going to be an elite player.
let me take that back. Let me take that back, right? Because it's true, right? Interior O-line in the first round, you really don't do that. I was talking about what's the biggest need for me. Second, it's that, right? You can't justify that in the first round, but the second biggest need besides quarterback for me is interior O-line. So let me rephrase that. I would say.
Okay. Edge, it's not that deep. I'm going to say if they don't go quarterback in the first round, they're going to go defensive back.
Okay.
I think cornerback, a heavy defensive back draft, I think they could get some pretty good value at the 12 spot if they sit there. If they don't go defensive back, I mean, come on, it's obvious. Kyle Pitts. Thank you. Pitts and Kits. Let's go. Vince asks, is there any way the 49ers go into next year with Rosen as the number one quarterback? Yes, there is a way. Yes, there is a way.
It's not a big possibility. It's not a big possibility.
It's not a big possibility. The only way the 49ers go into 2021 with Josh Rosen at number one is if they literally swung and miss at every quarterback opportunity. Like, even if you want to look at all the rumors that are out there. So if you're taking all the rumors at face value that Matt Stafford's available, that Dak Prescott's going to be available, I'll even go as low as Mitch Trubisky and Sam Darnold's available, and there's Zach Wilson and Mac Jones available. Like, you're talking about going 0 for 6 because Josh Rosen, to me, I am penciling him in as the backup quarterback for 2021. I am penciling him in no matter what happens these next 2 weeks. I think Josh Rosen's going to be the backup in 2021.
Yeah, and I don't mind that, right? So I think that with that in mind too, it also lends to why I wanted Josh Rosen here, right? And I think that if any fan base understands the value of a backup quarterback who can just be steady, it's this fan base, right? So why not a guy like Josh Rosen? If he proves himself to be a backup, ideally you don't want a backup to start 4 or 5 games. That's why they get themselves exposed. But 1 or 2 games and you don't really worry about it. You know, we didn't even have that with Nick this year.
Horatio asks, do you expect Hopkins to go off like he did against the 49ers in week 1? Yes.
Not as many yards. He'll have 8-9 catches. He targets only him.
Yeah. I said, like, literally, if you look at the Cardinals Pro Football Reference, not even Pro Football, right? Just any stat. DeAndre Hopkins has 138 targets. Christian Kirk, the second on this list, has 69, which is literally half of the amount. It's a nice amount. It's a nice amount. It's a nice amount, but it's literally half the total of what DeAndre Hopkins is. DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a big game. Get mentally ready for that.
And if you have him in your fantasy championships, congrats. You're gonna you might have a good game.
Last question.
Sure.
Cinnamon asks, do the 49ers have the draft capital to get Zach Wilson?
Yep.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit earlier. Yep. Like, there's still 4 months to go before the draft. Wilson can fall on boards, plain and simple.
Yes, that and the trade up, right? So you trade your first, right? And then I think, I feel like it's been overstated, but for anybody who's unaware, if we all think Salah's about to be, a head coach somewhere, you get 2 third-round picks because of the Rooney rule.
And one is this year, one is next year. So you're not
correct
this year. So just
correct. So you could see a first, those 2 thirds, and you move up and you get your guy. That's a possibility. It is out there, and then, for anybody who's scoffing at a 3rd-round pick, the 49ers, for all intents and purposes, they're going to be having high picks in each round, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They're not going to be low picks. They're not end of the rounds because they're not, they're not a playoff team. So think about that. Those picks have more value now. They're top of the 3rd picks. They're top of the 2nd picks. So it's on top of that. Yeah, the 49ers absolutely have the draft capital to move up and get Wilson if they really want him. And that's, I think, my point and what it has been with the idea that it's impossible you're going to be out of draft position. No, that's not true.
And I feel like it really does need to be said. If the 49ers finished with the 12th pick, don't expect them to trade up, because I know there's already talks about the Jets trying to trade back. The 12th pick isn't going to get you up to 2. I don't see a team like the Jets trading that far back unless the Niners offer them their 1st-round picks for the next 3 years, something insane like that. Now, if the 49ers slip into let's say 7, that's a more likely spot they're going to trade up to get to 2. Now, I personally don't think you have to get to 2 to get Zach Wilson. I don't think so. I think as of right this second, and this can very much change, I think the sweet spot for Wilson's probably 7, 8, 6, 7, 8 area, right?
Yeah.
The 12th pick can absolutely trade you up to 6, 7, 8 without giving up too much future draft capital. So yes, I think as of right this second, the 49ers can trade up for a pick to get Zach Wilson. And I'm not even ruling out the possibility of Zach Wilson not falling to 12, because I think there's a realm of possibility where Zach Wilson does fall to 12. So it's very early to be asking about draft. We still have a whole free agency. Who knows? When we get to the draft, the 49ers might not even be looking for a quarterback. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen up until the
fun part.
So I think that's going to be it.
Yeah.
For those of you who stuck with us for this whole 2 hours, thank you. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I hope you have a happy holidays. I hope you have a happy whatever you celebrate. If you celebrate Festivus, have a happy Festivus. I don't know the reference because I don't watch Seinfeld.
Andrew,
I know. Excuse me. Hang on. Let me finish what I'm saying. I haven't watched Seinfeld, but I know what Festivus is. I know what it is. I just haven't seen the episode. For those of you who actually who listened to us on the podcast and broke the episode up into 2 parts, I hope you're having a great Christmas day, and I hope you're having a great holiday. Jason, any last second thoughts you have before we break off for a week?
No, just enjoy the time with your family, guys, and just realize that time is precious, because there are people in the world that can't be with their parents right now, and can't be with their families. Yes, I mean, yeah, Andrew's definitely one of them as well. And I just wanted to reiterate what Andrew said. For anybody who is feeling any sort of loneliness, anything like that, please reach out via DM. You want to talk 49ers, you want to talk life, whatever, I'm here for you. And I'm thinking about it. I am going to be going away with my family, but I'm thinking about holding like maybe an hour Zoom call for anybody who's feeling like, hey, you're not around family or anything like that. You want to hang out with us for an hour and we're just going to talk about whatever. We're all with it, as long as people are being healthy and they're enjoying themselves, and they're, as long as you're in the right mental state, man. So just reach out and we'll let people know, which day we decide to do that.
Yeah, and I will say it right now. I was planning to do the same for Christmas. So I am staying here for Christmas. I'm going to be in my room. So if you're on Twitter, be on the lookout, because I'm probably at some point going to tweet out, "Hey, my DMs are open. If you tweet at me, if you message me, I will drop you a StreamYard link," because I use StreamYard over Zoom, because I don't think StreamYard's free has a time limit. We're not going to go live or anything. We're just going to use it as a Zoom call.
But wait, I'm wealthy. You can use my professional Zoom.
Oh, well, then definitely drop me that.
Yeah.
But at some point during the day, I'm probably going to tweet out, "Hey, DM me if you want the StreamYard link. I'm going to be in here talking 49ers. I might have a few of my friends drop in just in case nobody on Twitter, wants to drop in. But yeah, come in. I'm going to have a StreamYard Zoom open to talk about whatever you guys want. If you guys want to come in and talk about your Christmas, like, let's do it. If you want to come and talk about 49ers, let's do it. I'm just going to be essentially like, "Hey, I'm alone for Christmas. I know a lot of other people are going to be alone for Christmas. Why don't we make it a thing? Let's talk together." So be on the lookout for that on Twitter. Right now in my head, I'm shooting for noon. And who knows, maybe we could watch the football game together or something like that. Right now, currently shooting for noon. So be on the lookout for that tweet. If you're really interested, I would recommend turning on my tweet notifications for Friday and then instantly turning them off when they're done, because listen, you don't want to be notified when I tweet. I tweet a lot of dumb stuff, like, I don't know, suggesting that the 49ers quarterback next year is going to be Jameis Winston, which was a joke. It was a joke, guys.
But how do you not know that, Andrew? How do you not know that that's Andrew's brand?
Listen, I got a lot of people yelling. I have never seen the F word in my mentions more than the past 2 days. A lot of people have called me dumb, and I just say, listen to the podcast. You'll understand my fascination with Jameis Winston. So other than that, guys, listen, I hope you guys have a very happy, safe holiday. If you're interested in getting the podcast a Christmas present, I just looked into it. It costs money to trademark things. Just send us the trademark for Kits and Pits, and I will be happy. That's all this podcast wants for Christmas. Please, if you want to support the pod, Kits and Pits trademark, I would be very happy. Send it to me, please. So
Appreciate you, Arden Roy, man. Appreciate you for joining, man.
Listen, we appreciate all of you. And I don't know what the plan is for next week because we're running into the same thing where Friday is a holiday. I'm assuming we're going to run into the same thing where we might not have a show on Friday, but I'm assuming we will because New Year's isn't Christmas. You know, it is what it is. But at some point I do, Jason, just to give you a heads up, I do want to have a moment to reflect on what 2020 was. And what it meant to us, because I know you and I, listen, what people don't recognize is Jason and I have only known each other for 3 months at this point.
Yeah, since we started. I feel like we started talking maybe 2 weeks before the first time that we've ever, you know, graced the mic together.
So we're definitely going to have a reflection on what 2020 meant for us. So we don't mean to get too corny. We'll keep it short.
No, but here's the thing, Andrew, right? Like, I understand the team's not succeeding, but this is by far like one of my favorite 49ers years just because of the relationships that I've built, what we've built, who we've met, you know, interacting with all of you guys. Like, as bad as the season's been, I can't really say it's been all bad, honestly, this year. You know, on the 23rd of December, I could tell you right now that I actually had a really good year this year when it comes to who I met, what we built, and you know what we're moving towards, man. Like, you know, so I mean, in that way, it's good.
Oh, I can tell you honestly, like without lying, I know 2020 has been a bad year for everybody, and it's been a bad year for me too. But let me tell you this: I am in a hell of a better spot on January 1st, 2021 than I was on January 1st, 2020.
That's all you could ask for. Growth.
So anyways, that's going to do it. We've hit the 2-hour mark. Jason, do you want to say the thing we say at the end of this podcast?
Let's go Niners and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas and never forget, let's go Niners. #49GM.